Trump is still the president. Contrary to popular belief, contrary to what the media is telling us, he's still president. And he will remain president up until the inauguration, until such time, unless something changes. But he's still the president. And as I've said in previous broadcasts, previous podcasts, whatever you want to call it, while the media is anxious and they want him to concede what? They haven't even, certified all of the votes yet. That's not going to happen until December. So what is there to concede? What is the big rush for Donald Trump to concede? Why? I mean, why? If Joe Biden wants to go ahead and play president, he and Kamala Harris, they can go ahead and play dress-up president. He can go ahead and name all the people that he wants to name to his cabinet, his transition team. We know that the media is going to cover it. Why don't they just let him do it and just ignore the president, President Trump, who is the president? Just ignore it all and allow him to play dress-up. Why are they so bent on him conceding? What is it? What is a psychological game that they're playing? What is it that they know that we don't know? Other than the fact that they lied in 2016 and said that he was colluding with the Russians. They lied about the whole Ukrainian phone call, which they got him impeached over. But so what else is there? Just ask yourself that question. I know a lot of you are like, oh my God, look at what happened to Sidney Powell. But again, I say to you, he's still the president. And if we had to endure 3.5 years of nonsense with them saying that he colluded with the Russians, that he did this, something that they didn't bring up during the election, never brought that up during the campaign, never brought up about the Ukrainian whole fiasco. So why is it that they can't wait until the legal votes are counted? And Joe Biden said himself that they had the biggest fraud going on since, who knows when. And that he wants all the votes counted. But all of a sudden now it's like, let's rush this thing through. While the people aren't looking, while the people aren't paying attention. Go figure. Again, it's Rob J. H1 coming to you live tonight, megamedia.org. My moderator, S. Smalltown Andrew. And our guest today, attorney Manny Alicandro. How's it going, guys?
It's going good. How about you boys?
Good.
I'm surviving, with everything.
Crazy Sunday.
Oh yeah, with everything that's taking place, I'm surviving. But before we went on air, I saw some tweets from General Flynn and from Greg Kelly of Newsmax, and they're saying, rest assured, Sidney Powell, she's on the case. She's doing whatever she does best. So, what do you guys say?
We'll let Manny go first. He can.
Manny, come on, break it down to us.
So I put out some tweets and I'm getting attacked, and I want everybody to know I'm on your side. We're on the same team here, but I'm just trying to sort through this chaos and confusion. So firstly, we know there was a press conference last week with Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, and Sidney Powell. They all spoke, right? And it was almost 2 hours, like it was 1:45 minutes. And Sidney talked about what she was going to bring forth in terms of the evidence about her case and her claims and allegations made. Great. There was a tweet by Trump about a week or so ago laying out the fact that Sidney was on the campaign team.
Okay.
Today, Jenna Ellis and other people put out, so Jenna Ellis is the senior Trump campaign, senior legal advisor and attorney for President Trump. She tweeted a statement from the campaign, which read, Sidney Powell is practicing law on her own. She is not a member of the Trump legal team. She is also not a lawyer for the president in his personal capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy Giuliani, signed by Rudy Giuliani, attorney for President Trump, and Jenna Ellis. Okay, so let's kind of break that down, what that means. Okay, so what is confusing to me right now is what Sidney Powell's role is. Okay, I tweeted, I'm confused. I don't know who she is representing. And I've gotten hundreds of tweets from people saying, we the people. Let me just kind of give people a 3-second overview of the law and how it works, like a law class. Okay, this isn't legal advice, but I got to break this down because it's driving me crazy. Okay. When you sue someone in a civil case, you have to be a plaintiff or plaintiffs, meaning you have to have standing. There has to be some nexus between you and the case. So, for example, the cases in Pennsylvania, there was a case that a motion to dismiss was granted last night in the district court for the Middle District of Pennsylvania. There was a Judge Braun. That case now is being appealed to the circuit, the appellate court. Okay. I'm going to read the caption for that case just so people understand what this means. Donald J. Trump for President, Inc. et al., meaning there were others, versus Kathy Brokvar et al., defendant. She is the Secretary of State in the state of Pennsylvania. Okay. We, the people, cannot be a plaintiff in a civil case. The caption in a criminal case is "we the people of whoever" versus a person who's accused of a crime, a defendant, a felon, whatever. This is a civil case. Mm-hmm. The plaintiff or plaintiffs have to have standing. The president has standing. Someone who is on the ballot, who is another candidate who ran for, let's say, attorney general in the state of Pennsylvania, ran for Congress, they have standing in Pennsylvania. They don't have standing in Georgia. A voter in Pennsylvania has standing in Pennsylvania. A voter in Georgia does not have standing in Pennsylvania. Okay? I don't have standing in Pennsylvania. I don't have standing in Georgia. I don't have standing anywhere but for the fact if I was a candidate in where I ran or if I was a voter. Okay, so it is not clear to me right now whatsoever who Sidney Powell is representing. Now, who could she represent potentially? She could represent someone who is a voter in a state. I'm not quite sure what state that is. Now, Lynn Wood, who is kind of working in this area, has represented himself in Georgia. He filed petitions with the federal courts in Georgia as himself. Lynn Wood as voter. Okay, and you did something called pro se, where you represent yourself legally. But this communication from the Trump campaign is completely confusing because to me, the campaign is distancing itself from Sidney Powell. She was a part of the team. Now this communication saying she's not part of the team, which is raising doubts in my mind who she's representing. Who's left for her to represent? If she's not representing the Trump campaign, if she's not representing the Trump team, if she's not representing the RNC, Republican National Committee, who but for is left for her to represent? Maybe a voter in some state. But what state would that be? I don't know. So this whole thing about the Kraken and Dominion and all that, I would think the best plaintiffs in that situation that are legally permissible plaintiffs, again, we the people cannot be a plaintiff in this action, are the president, the Republican National Committee, other people in states who are on the ballot, whose votes maybe were changed, or voters in states where we really know de facto that Dominion switched a voter. But a vote from Trump to Biden, clearly, who would be implicated by that? Trump, most directly. So it makes no sense why Trump wouldn't be a plaintiff represented by Sidney Powell, or a voter in that jurisdiction where Sidney Powell is alleging that the vote was switched. Now, further, we're waiting on this proof that these votes were switched by Dominion and other companies. Where is the evidence showing that these votes were switched? I mean, those are strong allegations. We need a whistleblower. We need someone of like a Snowden. We need a Julian Assange, someone who works for Dominion or Smartmatic or one of these companies on the inside, a data scientist, someone who knows. Without having that level of person, these allegations, are not going to fly in a federal court. A judge in a federal court is not going to overturn 5, 6, 700,000 votes.
Right.
If someone just makes an allegation, hey, these votes for Trump, so many votes came in, there was an algorithm that changed from Trump to Biden, and so many votes came for Trump, it blew the algorithm out. Okay, great, counselor. Where is your substantiation of this? Where is your direct evidence? Well, I have an affidavit from an affiant. Okay, great. Where is someone who knows what happened telling us what happened. Where is this whistleblower? I've not seen it. Tuesday is 3 weeks out of election day, and I've not seen it. And again, I want to see it. I want to move these arguments forward. I'm on the same team that we all are on, but I just want people to face reality and take a deep breath and realize that this is not a good communication that we got from the president today. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope tomorrow morning I'm blown away, and I will be the first person to admit that I'm wrong. I don't like being wrong, but in this situation, I will be happy to be wrong. But I'm just confused. I don't see it, and no one with all these tweets, follow-on tweets to Jenna Ellis and very high-level people. There was no retraction of that statement about Sidney Powell not being on the Trump team or representing Trump in a personal capacity. Neither a retractment statement or a clarification. Neither retractment nor clarification were provided. That statement stands as made by the campaign.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, Manny. So with her, because I'm looking at some of the tweets that are going backwards and forward, I'm still there. I'm still behind this president 100%, no matter what happens, no matter what transitions take place. And like you said, it does not look good. Let's just be honest. We have to be honest to ourselves. It doesn't look good. But the solace that I have is that for 3.5 years, we went through this whole rigmarole of Russia collusion. Now, some people will say, oh, it doesn't matter, forget about that. No, I will not forget about it, because that took out a chunk of my life with them accusing a legitimate president of working with the Russians. So I don't care what this president care how to make this way, they get rid of this person, bring this person. I point, okay? But what I care about is them seeing this all the way through. And if it gets all the way through the very end and it doesn't look good for him, so be it. But I am still there. I still support this president. Now, Manny, let me ask you this. This is the question that I wanted to get to. Is it possible, with all these judges throwing the cases out of court, does this give them the opportunity to go before the Supreme Court? Is this something that they're planning on, that they're going through the local courts, the federal courts, state courts, or whatnot, and then eventually it will go to the Supreme Court? Not that the Supreme Court will take it or hear it, but can they take that path to present it to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. They could appeal. So right now, Judge Braun, this judge I was referring to, granted a motion to dismiss where the allegations were the poll watchers weren't allowed to do their job and be poll watchers. So those votes that came in during that time shouldn't be counted. He didn't want any part of it. Now that is being appealed to an appellate court. Their decision in turn could be appealed to the Supreme Court. Absolutely. Or there's an opportunity of going straight to the Supreme Court. But my point is this: the basis of the Supreme Court, what the Supreme Court would look for, is going to be the same thing that a district court, federal court, the lowest level of a federal court would look for as well. If there's no evidence, there's no evidence. If the Kraken's not there, then there's nothing there. So I don't know why we think, even though we like some of those justices on the Supreme Court, they're judges, and they're going to say, okay, where's the evidence? So this is predicated on proof and evidence and whistleblowers with direct knowledge, data scientists. If none of that is provided by Sidney Powell, it's not going to matter what court it goes before.
Right.
No justice is going to say, okay, yes, I can't believe all these votes for Trump, 1.5 million, I'm just plucking a number out of left field, were changed from Trump to Biden. Yes, let's undo the results of the election. No judge is going to do that, whether it's a district court, an appellate court, or the Supreme Court. So if there's no evidence, there's no evidence, there's no evidence. And people don't seem to understand that. They're looking at the fact that, oh, this judge was an Obama appointee or whatever. At the end of the day, we all should be adults. And I support Trump more than anybody else, but we all have to be reasonable and practical. If there's no evidence at this time that can be proven, that just sucks. And that hurts us fatally. Okay, it is very difficult to move forward with any of these cases without direct evidence and proof. And I'm not trying to be Tucker Carlson. I'm trying to be realistic. Okay, maybe it's something that we got to get to later on. We have to have a special prosecutor, whatever, when the evidence is there. But at this moment, time is of the essence, and it doesn't appear that we have enough evidence to overturn the results of this election in those key battleground states, in my opinion. And again, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't see it, and I don't know why we would wait 3 weeks to present the evidence. If you had this evidence, I would just bang them. I'd smash them over the head with a steel chair like the WWE as soon as possible, and
Right.
just get right into the case. Why is anybody withholding evidence? Makes no sense to me. If you have a strong case, you go with your strong hand. You go with your strong suit right away. What is the point of withholding anything that could change this election and make people potentially civil unrest and make people uncomfortable, and most importantly, make people lose faith in a president and this presidency and him getting reelected? Why would you withhold that evidence? It makes no sense, just from a common sense application. So unfortunately, I'm struggling with kind of where we're at and what we have. And I hope I'm wrong.
No, I think what you said is well said, and I'm glad that we have you on tonight, attorney, so that people will understand what's happening. And as someone once said, the absence of evidence doesn't mean that a crime didn't take place, but at the same time, you've got to have something so that the judges can say, okay, move forward. And I think you made a valid point when you said that, we're looking at the Supreme Court and we're looking at the judges that are on the court. But even with Alito, I mean, he might have, ruled in Trump's favor, earlier on, but still, there has to be something there to move this ball forward, because we just can't make it up whole cloth. Granted, the Democrats did do that with the Russia collusion, and I will always go back to that. I mean, and a lot of the stuff that they pushed, was circumstantial. It wasn't even that.
But let's draw the
wasn't there. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. But let's draw a point of distinguishment. That was not in a court of law. That was that's a kangaroo court. It's Congress.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're not comparing apples to apples here, right? We're comparing what you bring forth in a legal case before federal judges predominantly, as opposed to Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler and Nancy Pelosi, which we know is complete garbage and fake and fabricated. That's the disconnect.
Right.
So we can't compare that. They were successful, unfortunately, because they stacked the deck. And we know what happened with the Mueller report. It was a nothing burger, and we wasted $50 million. In a court of law, I'm sorry, we're playing by a different set of rules. Mm-hmm. Maybe, potentially, we could get a special prosecutor assigned to this and appointed. I would hope, and then look into this, and we play that same way. But right now, we're applying a different set of rules. There's a different rubric applied by these federal courts. And federal judges are tough. Federal judges are very tough. They're very smart, and they're very reluctant to do something that would have such a huge impact permanently on the United States of America, unless they're absolutely convinced that there's clear and convincing evidence. You remember those terms, clear and convincing. Where is the clear and convincing evidence? If you have the evidence, you could present it. It's not a secret. If there's a whistleblower could say, yeah, I work for Dominion, and not tell us every single thing they know, but at least show us who you got. Show us what you got.
Right. We've seen several examples of the FBI and Department of Justice refuse to investigate anything. They're really hindering the Trump campaign's opportunity to gather evidence when they won't even make the attempt at investigating anything, like these statements that, there's been no evidence that they were trying to hide the vote counts, when we've all seen it on video, them holding up boards and stuff over the windows to hide what they're doing. It just seems like everybody's in the tank against President Trump, unfortunately.
No, you're right. And again, those would be criminal. Okay, so Sidney Powell, me, you, anybody else, I can't bring criminal charges against Dominion or against someone who worked at the polls. If they like scanned a ballot in that came in late. Well, I have no basis. You have no basis. We have no basis of doing that. Only the criminal authorities that have the legal authority to bring charges and indict people. Okay, we haven't seen any criminal charges. So again, people are confusing potential criminality from Dominion, potential criminality of people scanning in ballots, not allowing the poll watchers to be close by. What we're doing right now, all the cases that have been brought forward are civil cases. A plaintiff versus the defendant.
Yep.
Someone who's aggrieved that has standing versus the defendant, the Secretary of State, the Board of Electors from a particular state. Criminal stuff would be done by the DOJ or the Attorney General himself, or the U.S. attorneys in a certain district in a state. Okay, we haven't seen any of that, so we have to have two lanes. Criminal lane, there's nothing right now that we're aware of. Should we? I don't know. The FBI hasn't said anything. No one said anything about it. They're the ones who could bring any kind of criminal charges against the people we're talking about. We are only right now in the civil lane, and that's the best we could do is bring civil cases. We, the people, can't be the plaintiff. It has to be people who were personally affected and have an injury. Okay, so someone told me, I was just on the phone with someone. He said, why couldn't a voter be a plaintiff in this action and say, my vote didn't count? And I'm like, how would a voter know their vote didn't count? The only way that a voter would know their vote didn't count is if I go to vote and go, hey, I'm Manny, I want to vote, and they go, no, you can't vote, and they literally turn me away. If I vote, whether I vote in person or I send in my ballot by mail, how the hell would I know that my vote didn't count? It's just rumor and myth and innuendo. It might not very well have counted, but I have zero proof. The only proof I have as a voter, my vote not counting, literally is somebody saying, Manny, you can't vote. And I go to vote and they turn me away. That's my proof. Anything outside of that is just a guess.
Well, so I think one of the things that you said, I think that needs to be reiterated, is that when I mentioned the whole Russia collusion, the clear distinction is that was all political. It was not done in the court of law.
They have their own rules. They have their own rules. A hearsay is allowed. You can't have admission of hearsay. What about the whistleblower? What about the whistleblower to Ukraine? I heard someone over here who told me that they heard it's like 5 degrees of hearsay. That was admissible evidence in terms of starting the Mueller investigation. That can't be done in a federal court. That wouldn't be allowed. That'd be chucked immediately. So there's 2 sets of rules and 2 standards here. And I think everybody's hot and everybody's excited, and I understand it. But it sucks. But we just have to understand kind of the rules of the road and the rules of what we're trying to do. And unfortunately, they're really not in our favor right now, the way things are playing out. And again, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that things change over the next couple of days before Thanksgiving. But I'm worried that they're not gonna.
Right.
Well said, Manny. We appreciate your legal expertise on that subject. I was very curious to get your take, even though if it's not necessarily what people want to hear, it is still honest, and that's what we like here.
Exactly.
One more quick update on Sidney Powell. Michael Flynn Jr. posted that Sidney Powell has been suspended from Twitter for 12 hours. She understands the White House press release and agrees with it. She is staying the course to prove the massive deliberate election fraud that robbed we the people of our votes for President Trump and many other Republican candidates. So I guess we'll just have to sit back and see what happens with Sidney Powell and Mayor Giuliani and the rest of Trump's legal team in the upcoming weeks. Hopefully some positive news breaks here pretty soon. Some other big
because we're all on pins and needles.
Some other big news that broke this past week is the release of Kyle Rittenhouse from jail, released on bond. Ricky Schroeder and Mike Lindell actually helped him raise the money to post the bond, and Kyle's going to be home for Thanksgiving, which I think is a very good thing. Manny, what did you make of Kyle Rittenhouse being bailed out of jail?
Yeah, I actually, I was glad to see that people helped him. He's a young man, and it's a lot of money in terms of posting bonds. So he got the support he needed, and again, he needs his day in court, and innocent until proven guilty, and we just need to let it kind of play out and listen to the evidence, and his case needs to be argued. So I'm sure he's going to get the appropriate legal representation that he needs as well. But again, we have supposedly someone who is deeming herself to be the vice president-elect tweeting for people to give to a legal defense fund to bail out effectively these felons who committed crimes in terms of looting in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, okay, which is tragic, okay. But then there's this young kid who needs help right now, and a couple of well-known people put up money for him right before the holidays, so he got released. Apparently there's a double standard, that conservative celebrities, or conservative people can't help people who are in need and deserve their day in court. So I'm pretty sad that people have been attacking Ricky Schroeder and Mike Lindell, and I think it's commendable that they did that. And again, they're not necessarily supporting this man in terms of anything that he's done. They just put money up to help him get the legal get released right now, and get the legal defense team that he needs. So again, we have this cancel culture mentality where everybody who does something that the mob doesn't agree with is de facto a horrible person. But if bad people do bad things, but the mob supports it, then it's okay. Meaning, like kind of Kamala Harris saying, give money to this legal defense fund to defend people in Minnesota who committed crimes and looted. That's totally okay, and nobody questioned that. But
Right.
by comparison, this Ricky Schroeder thing and Mike Lindell thing is horrible.
It makes you wonder what has happened to America. Why aren't we, supporters entitled to a defense? I don't care if you think they're, wrong, guilty. Everyone is entitled to defense, and that's one of the beauties of our criminal justice system. But to go out and attack, like you said, Mike Lindell and Ricky Schroeder for putting up money to get this kid out of jail is just, it's unreasonable. I mean, I never would have thought that America would come to this at this day and age. And Barack Obama is not helping much. He has not come out once to denounce the rioting that was taking place this summer. He didn't come out, and I'm going back to my favorite topic in 2016 to say no legitimate president. All for me, it political or legal, it all leads back to that. And as we said, as Manny so articulately mentioned, is that they're apples and oranges. But it leads back to that because I keep thinking of what they put us through. Yeah. And it was a big lie. It was a ruse. And no one has apologized. And now this, what we're going through now with the election.
Terrible. It's terrible. I want to add one thing quickly. So there's this congressman from New Jersey. His name is Bill Pascrell, Pascrell Jr. And what he did, this is how bad the cancel culture has gotten in this country. He tweeted this earlier this afternoon. He just filed legal complaints with the Arizona, Minnesota, Nevada, New York, and Pennsylvania bars against Rudy Giuliani and 22 other lawyers seeking their disbarments for filing frivolous lawsuits and trying to help Trump steal the election and dismantle democracy. Now, do you know how terrible this is? So what I'm contemplating doing is filing, me personally, maybe with some other people. This guy is not a lawyer that I'm aware of. My understanding is when you file a bar complaint, right? Again, you have to have some connection to the case. So if I'm representing you, Rob, and there's an issue with my representation of you, you could file a bar complaint against me. But this guy's a congressman from New Jersey. He has no connection to any of these cases. He's filing bar complaints against Rudy and 22 other lawyers, which is serious. Secondly, my understanding is that when you file a bar complaint, it's confidential. Mm-hmm. This man has publicized that. He's essentially defaming Rudy and these other lawyers because just because he filed a bar complaint doesn't mean anything's going to happen from it. But it sounds terrible. Scandalous. If I say, hey, somebody filed a bar complaint against me, you're going to say, oh my God, that's terrible. This is defamation. Right. This man should be censored by the House Ethics Committee. This is tragic. This is the cancel culture bullshit that we're facing right now. So as a corollary to what we're talking about with Mike Lindell and Ricky Schroeder, imagine now if you're the lawyer representing Kyle Rittenhouse, that now somebody's going to write a letter to the Bar Association. How dare you represent this murderous kid? That's the next thing. So then someone like Kyle can't even get effective representation under the Constitution. We'll have a right to counsel, but this cancel culture and this mob culture is directly attacking people. It's so sad and gets me so upset.
Well, not only that, Manny. I mean, look at what AOC plus 3 and some of these people are saying, that anyone that's coming out of the White House should not be able to get employment. Look at the attorneys that were working for helping President Trump. They dropped the case because their families were being attacked.
They were doxxed. I know some of those people.
Wait, where are the leaders in the Democratic Party? Where are these people who are supposed to be so self-righteous? Why aren't they saying this should not be happening in America? It just didn't start now. This was going on back in 2017, 2018, with Sarah Sanders, with a lot of people on President Trump's in his cabinet. People were going to their homes. I mean, this should not be happening. And then you have Christine Oman-Parr comparing the president to Hitler. I'm like, are you serious? Are these crazy dictators?
And nobody criticized her, and no criticism, and no criticism of this doxing, where people's personal lives and families are threatened. They could go to schools that their kids go to. They get challenged and attacked at restaurants. Remember this happened to Ted Cruz. He got attacked. He was at dinner with his wife and his family, and people came up to him in some restaurant in D.C. You have to have security. I mean, this is completely nutso. And that's the kind of world, that's the world we're in. So we need to fight back. We cannot take this. So we have to figure out how this whole election thing plays out. But we can't stop. We have to keep the fight because we have to keep the fight going because we need to stop this. We need to stop the doxing. We need to stop the cancel culture, and we need to clean up our elections. No matter what. I'm just saying, unfortunately, right now, kind of doing a play-by-play almost with this game right now that we're in this election. It's just getting apparently tougher and tougher, unfortunately.
Yeah, well said. And Manny, I don't think it takes an attorney to confirm this, but maybe you can confirm this for us. A lot of the left are saying Kyle Rittenhouse was bonded out because of white privilege. Getting out on bond has nothing to do with being white, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole thing is preposterous. I mean, the criminal justice system, when it's reduced to those kinds of terms, it's just tragic. There are people who spend their lives working the criminal justice system, working to reform the criminal justice system, and President Trump did a lot, in that regard. And we need to get it better. We need to continue to work to improve the criminal justice system. But I mean, to just reduce it to those terms, it's just tragic, and that's just not gonna. That's not going to solve any of the problems that we have right now in the world.
Not at all.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a lot of Rhino Republicans come out this week. They are coming out of the woodwork. Big Chris Christie was in the headlines today for bashing President Trump. Karl Rove earlier in the week, and Mitt Romney, of course, joined in. I guess we're finding out who President Trump's real allies are right now, and the time is tough. Rob, you can start off on this one. What did you make of Governor Chris Christie coming out today against President Trump?
Well, I've said this before. I like Chris Christie, especially when he was a governor of New Jersey. I thought that he was a powerful force. I thought he was bombastic, and I kind of like that in men who are just strong enough to say it the way it is. But at the same time, I think that when Chris Christie wasn't given the spot of Attorney General, because Jared Kushner, there were still some ill blood there because apparently Jared, so they say, I don't know, I don't have this, to be truth or not, still had ill blood because Chris Christie went after his father, and his father spent some time in jail. So he didn't get that position. But still, the president kept Chris Christie close by. Chris Christie was also responsible, so I hear, for pushing Christopher Wray, suggesting that he, had the FBI. Chris Christie was also responsible for the first debate, he and Rudy Giuliani. And after they had the debate, Chris Christie came out and said, oh, he was hot, he was this, he was that. Now, I have watched Chris Christie since 2016. And I always had a question mark by his name because I never felt that he was completely in the president's camp. And it's really unfortunate because it seems to me that President Trump really has him in high regards. But he's always saying little remarks on the side. He goes on a lot of these liberal talk shows and he attacks the president with, well, he could have said it better than that, or he could have done this, he could have done that. He needs to, I'm thinking, wait a minute. Okay, if you're on my team, I don't want you going out there criticizing me. I don't care if you don't agree with what I'm saying. You're on my team, so you need to speak the team talk. You need to walk the team walk. Now, unless you're out there in limbo land, you're not on my team, I don't want to hear anything else. And then what was a really true sign is when he got COVID-19 and he came out and he started giving all this spiel as if though to attack the president. Never once did Chris Christie come out and say, folks, just in case you didn't notice, I'm overweight. I had the gastric bypass and it didn't work. I have diabetes, I have high blood pressure. So of all people, I should have been wearing my mask. I should have been practicing social distancing. But instead, I was a bloviator at all these different White House functions, going up and talking to everyone, screaming and trying to get their attention, going on different news shows, trying to get their attention, saying, look at me because I might run in 2024. Well, I've got news for you, Chris Christie. I don't forget, okay? And should you run in 2024, and if you are successful, I will still have a question mark by your name. Because it seems as though you're trying to play to the left. Now, Mitt Romney, forget about it. I mean, I think Scott Baio saying that he might move to Utah to unseat him. Mitt has always been a rhino. He's a smart man, but he's a pathetic man. And then to my favorite, Ben Sass. That's a sassy little guy there. I don't like Ben Sass. I think Ben Sass is two-faced. I think Ben Sass talks a good talk, just to be seen. But to me, of all these guys, Josh Hawley, I think that's how he pronounces his name, he has a future, and I like him. I like people who are going to be true to their words, say what they mean it, and stand by it. But as far as those other three rhinos, Mitt, Chris Christie, and Ben Sass, they're pathetic human beings. And they're the old politics, and they want to keep it that way. But those days are over. So get out of the way.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I agree. I mean, to me,
that's my take.
To me, it's very simple. Christie is an opportunist. So Christie wants to be the president. Okay. So Christie was playing nice with Trump because he thought, Trump. So Trump won in 2016, and he went against Trump in 2016. Don't forget. Yep. But so he played nice. He thought he'd be in the cabinet, and he wasn't. And there's, potential reasons why that have been rumored in terms of why he wasn't in the cabinet, whatever, why he wasn't in a vice presidential candidate potentially for Romney. And don't forget, I think Small Town tweeted the picture of the embrace, the hug on the beach on the Jersey Shore with Chris Christie and Obama, during a presidential campaign, and supposedly he was supporting Romney. I think he gave the main speech at the Republican National Convention in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. He essentially the nominating speech, right, for Romney, which was a big slap in the face to Romney. But I think Christie at his core is a big opportunist, literally, and I think that he feels now that Trump is going to lose, and unfortunately, and Biden will win. So Christie wants to be president, and he figured if Trump won again in 20, he'd have to kiss up to Trump for another 4 years, and then he would start his campaign, at the end of 23, heading into 2024. Okay, and need to get the blessing of Trump. Now, Christie's like, okay, so Trump's putting up this fight, and he has the legal right to put up the fight, but I don't think he's going to win, so I'm going to just throw him under the bus, because Christie doesn't want him to be the leader of the party. Christie doesn't want Trump to be the kingmaker, because Christie just wants to start campaigning for 2024. And who would be the better candidate to run against in a primary against Trump? If he could push Trump out, he's got an edge in terms of 2024 running against old man Biden. Are you kidding me? He's salivating as if he's going to like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Oh my God, this is unbelievable for Chris. Like, geez, this is heaven. He is 4 years now that he could start campaigning right away against old man Biden and not worry about Trump and not have to get the blessing of Trump, maybe, and not have to wait to see, what happens between now and the end of Trump's second term. If Trump doesn't have a second term, better for Chris. He could start campaigning in 2021, 2022, and go after Biden and get it and get an edge. So to me, it's very simple. He doesn't care about Trump. He doesn't care about the Republican Party. He cares about Chris Christie, and this is an opportunity for him to move ahead. The guy in front of him, is stalled out, whatever. So he's just going around him, and that's Trump. He doesn't care about Trump and MAGA. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. All he cares about is his agenda, and he sees an opportunity. He's pushing Trump to the side. He's going for that opportunity.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Well said. I agree.
Yeah, the guy, I think he's like a regular commentator on like ABC or something like that. So he'll take any opportunity he gets. Trump has been on Twitter quite a bit lately, but other than that, we have not seen much from President Trump. What do you make of his silence, Rob?
Well, my thing is, what I find interesting is, why is it that the media is wondering, where is the president? We haven't heard from the president. Why do you want to hear from the president? It's like he was president, and you never covered him from 2016 up until now. When he would give a speech, you guys would cut it out. Oh, we got to do the fact checking. So why now do you want to see the president? It's like, what is it with these people? It's been 12 days and we haven't heard from the president. Well, when you think about it, and he hasn't given any press conferences to the media. Well, what about Joe Biden? He was locked in the basement for how long? And you guys never questioned why he wasn't coming out of the basement? And when he came out of the basement, the only thing you had to say was, do you like President Trump? Do you think he's doing this? Do you think he's doing that? As opposed to, Mr. Joe Biden, Mr. Former Vice President, what are you going to do? What would you do specifically different than what the president did in relationship to COVID-19? What would you do with North Korea? None of those questions were presented to him. But they're still, where is the president? And if the president were to come out, they wouldn't cover him. And if they did, as they did previously, when he came out and was talking about the vaccine, they would shout all these ridiculous questions. And it's fair, and this and that. Oh, please talk to us. Get a life. Report real news for a change. But they're afraid of real news, so they won't ask those questions. It's unbelievable.
Right. Manny, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, look, he's doing his job. He's had a couple of press conferences. He got a press conference the other day about the vaccine. He's at the G8 meeting. I don't think anything that he does right now is going to change anything with regard to how the media feels about him. So I kind of think it doesn't matter. And we just have to accept the fact that the media really hates him. And the media is the reason that we're in a situation we're in. I mean, there was so much censorship from the social media platforms running up to this campaign. They're not giving him the credit now for the vaccine, which is tragic. I even heard today the head of the Operation Warp Speed isn't even giving Trump the credit. And Biden, believe it or not, is taking credit for the vaccine already. It's nothing to do with it. And Biden, I jumped on a tweet that Kamala Harris said yesterday was, we're going to do, meaning she and Biden are going to do what Trump didn't do. We're going to have free testing and vaccines. And I don't know about you guys, but the testing that I've seen and I've gotten for COVID is free, number one, in New York. Okay, so in big cities, it's free. Okay, and if you're paying out of pocket, I'm sure you get reimbursed by an insurance company. Number one. Number two, the vaccination is going to be free. So what are they doing? Biden and Harris, Harris and Biden, whatever. I confuse them. What do they do? What do they do in morphing into like one person? What are they doing? What's their plan that's radically different? It's nothing. It's a copycat. They're just gonna take credit for what Trump did, which is amazing, holding everything else equal. You could hate Trump, but he did an incredible job with this vaccine. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the world, literally, that a vaccine could be fast-tracked so quickly and cut through this arduous red tape with all the governmental agencies. But even when there's a press conference for that, the media just doesn't give him the credit. So it's tragic. But the media, unfortunately, because of social media, I would say, I don't even care about the mainstream media. I blame social media. The power of social media is crushing and strangulating, and it really put Trump and the MAGA efforts in a headlock. And having Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz attack Zuckerberg and all those guys, and Jack, at Twitter, Jack Dorsey. I mean, it's good theater, but at the end of the day, they're laughing all the way to the bank. These guys are billionaires, and they control what we do and how we do it. And we have to make sure this stops. So that's another thing we need to deal with: cleaning up our election integrity, and taking care of those guys and diluting those guys to the power that they have, because we're in a situation we're in right now, let's be honest, because of those guys.
Absolutely. And know who's holding them accountable. And as you said, Manny, I mean, they were called up on the Hill. I mean, it's frustrating for me to see them there, because they're put on the spot, they're put in the hot seat, they'll hem and they'll haw, they'll say, oh, I don't know this and I don't know that, but in actuality, the thing is that they know that what are you going to do to us? We've accomplished our mission. So what are you going to do now? Unless we put some force, as Senator Hawley said, we put some force behind it and give them a severe spanking on the butt, they'll continue to do this nonsense.
Pelosi's not going to do it, right? I mean, I liken it to like a boxing match. You have this aggressive boxer coming at you, and you just smother the punches. And you just roll with the punches. They take the question, oh, I'm not sure, I don't recall, I'll get back to you, thank you. And they're looking at the clock. They're just timing everybody out. And they're just like, they're literally laughing at Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley and disrespecting them and Lindsey Graham and laughing at us because they're looking at their portfolios and how much money they're making. And they just literally roll with the punches. Oh, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm not sure, and they're just timing out. Can you repeat the question? They're just timing the clock out. And we need to take action.
Right. And here's the other thing. I mean, what action can be taken against them? Okay, so you break them up. They're still billionaires. So they've done. So I think at the point, as to whatever fine or whatever, hey, they've done it, and they don't want anyone, more than likely, they don't want anyone else to, be able to achieve the success that they've achieved. So, break us up, stop us. No one else will be able to do it. So they could care less. They'll probably go do like Bill Gates and start funding these ridiculous charities and preaching about global, the global economy and this, and we're doing that. I mean, what's next for these guys? It's like, come on.
No, you're right. I mean, the only way would be to take away their Section 230 immunities, and Josh Hawley said it. But they'll figure out another workaround because they're so rich and they're so powerful. They'll figure out a way to deal with that. So it's a big problem. We literally let them get away with murder, and now it's kind of hard to put the genie back in the bottle when that happens.
Yeah,
it's virtually impossible. But if we look back on 2020 and we reflect on this year, who controlled what we said about COVID? They did. Who controls what we said about this election? They did. About impeachment. I mean, the whole thing, the last 12, 18 months, they control every single thing we say. They put tags on that shit now, with the disclaimers and everything. Anytime you put something about election, it has that disclaimer on it, or COVID, it comes up on Facebook and Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah. I live halfway across the country, and Manny just mentioned, speaking of getting away with murder, but that reminds me of the next guy I'm going to talk about, your guys' governor, Andrew Cuomo. I am so sick of this guy. He's taking like another victory tour over supposedly the great job he did with COVID. And New York is really citing people with tickets and whatnot. I just read a story from New York Post before the show. Apparently, they busted an underground swinger party in New York City. I don't know if you guys seen this, but
I wasn't there.
Yeah, I didn't go there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good to know. Apparently, you guys weren't there, but over 80 people were there. What do you guys make of the underground swinger party not following the COVID guidelines?
Well, I'll go first real briefly. I will say I live in Fidei, Manny and I both, and there was a underground swingers club, I think on John or Maiden Lane. But I've never been there, but I heard about it. The guy's pathetic. I call him, the madness of King Governor Cuomo, who thinks he's this like hot to trot governor, single and ready to mingle, as his brother said. He's sad. I mean, because he's a death doctor. he caused the death of many elderly people in nursing homes, and now they want to give him an Emmy. And I can't say anything good about the guy. He's a bad man. He's just a bad man. And he and de Blasio going to, if they haven't already, run the city into the ground. They're both bad men. They're bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I interviewed a couple of women who, one of the women in particular, she founded an organization called Voices for Seniors, and she has litigation right now against a nursing home in New York State. So her mother died in a nursing home, and from COVID. And there's a lot of people who, so there's a grassroots organization I started on Facebook, and now there's thousands of people who've joined it, and they do a bunch of protests, and they get a lot of positive press, but so tragic. So essentially what happened was these people, their families died when COVID was really bad in New York. And a lot of them were either in nursing homes, or a lot of them, believe it or not, were in rehab centers. So there's this kind of misnomer that, oh, you're 75, you're going to get COVID and die. A lot of these people were in good shape, and they had like reconstructive surgery of the knee or something. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But so they stay in they're released from the hospital, and then they go to a rehab center to do physical therapy before they go back home. Well, they got COVID at these rehab centers, and the rehab centers were not equipped to treat the COVID. And then this is where the thing gets crazy. Supposedly, the rumors are such that the rehab center was receiving certain types of funds to take care of the patient. So the rehab center didn't release the patient because there was some money involved that would have to go to a hospital. So by the time these people ultimately went to hospitals, it was too late, and they died from COVID. So this all happened with Andrew Cuomo, the governor, and the commissioner of health in the state of New York, knowing all about this. And as a matter of fact, these nursing homes in New York were granted an immunity in one of the executive orders from Cuomo earlier in the year, but they're not immune from negligence. So these cases are about negligence in the fact that these either nursing homes or rehab centers didn't have the proper ability to take care of people who had COVID, who needed to be on a respirator. I mean, it was that dramatic. And you can imagine someone dying from COVID when they first have COVID, and then the onset of it would, they're on a respirator pretty quickly. That's pretty dramatic. And you could see the stages of how that goes. And they didn't release these people to a hospital. It's terrible. Why, oh, why would the governor of a state where, 10,000 people died in nursing homes, and we lost 35,000 people in New York to COVID, why that guy would get an Emmy for these press conferences where he acts like a complete jerk? As a matter of fact, he had a press conference the other day. I urge you all to take a look at it. He was in a really bad mood, and he comes out, and this reporter asks him a question about these zones. They have these zones in New York because there was rumors that they were going to close down the schools in New York again to in-person learning. Schools remain open to remote learning, but New York City schools were open for 2 days a week per student to do hybrid learning if their parents gave them permission to go to school in person, and the rest was on Zoom. So Cuomo comes out, and a reporter starts asking him questions, and Cuomo says, "What do you mean you don't know?" And the reporter says, I don't know. I don't know. If it goes, "How dare you not know? You should know." And he goes, and the reporter goes, "Well, I don't really feel the right way about that. I don't really know if," but he goes, "I don't care what you think. I don't care how you feel." Okay. And just starts aggressively attacking reporters. Now, if Trump had done this, he would have been the devil, right? Oh my God! And these reporters, just to let you know, because of COVID and social distancing, they are the Albany reporters. He knows these people for many years. It's like the White House correspondents. It's not just some random person off the street. It's like it's a very highly selective process to be working for the Wall Street Journal, for example, and the New York Post, the Albany reporter covering the governor of the state of New York. That's a prestigious thing. He's attacking these people. What comes out after the fact, and he said nothing about New York City schools being closed during that press conference, only attack reporters. He leaves. I'm watching a press conference. Bill Ritter, the guy who's the anchor on ABC News, the local Channel 7 in New York, says after Cuomo gets up and leaves that New York City schools were going to be closed. And what came out after the fact was Cuomo was pissed off supposedly, before the press conference because he got into an argument with the mayor of New York right before the press conference, hung up on de Blasio and took it out on the reporters and didn't mention anything about the schools being closed. So the schools were closed behind his back after he's pontificating and attacking these reporters personally, by the way. He goes, it's a matter of the law. Do you know the law? The reporters go, no. He goes, you should know the law. What law holds? Is it state laws? I'm like, what the hell is this guy saying? And we give this guy an Emmy. He's acting like a thug. He's acting like a jerk, and he's drunk on the power. He's so arrogant and caught up with his power, with him and his brother, and they're disgraceful. And it's tragic that people died, and he just acts so cavalier about it. And he does act like he's some kind of stud, and he like smirks and all this stuff like that. And he's on these shows, and supposedly people want to date him and all this craziness. It's so creepy. It's so creepy. And again, if he was a conservative and he acted like that, he would be deemed like, oh, he's a misogynist, he's a sexual predator, oh, he's hitting on these women, whatever. But it's okay for Andy to be like, oh yeah, I want to be dating and I'm thinking about dating or whatever. I mean, again, the double standard is so obvious. If I was a conservative guy, he would be, Trump is just like a terrible guy because he dated women, as he was a successful businessman in New York. But Andy could do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's walking around in his tight T-shirt showing off his nipple rings. He don't even care.
Yes, I remember that photo and that press conference was sick. But like Chelsea Handler, it's in the Post. Like Chelsea Handler wants to date Andy Cuomo, and then he's on a show. They're like, "Hey, I saw Chelsea Handler, reach out to you," and he like smirks, and I'm like, "This is creepy. This is kind of creepy, and it's fake, and it's fake. Okay, this is fake news. Okay, they're trying to make this guy seem like he's some kind of sex symbol. He looks like Dracula. Like the guy looks like Dracula warmed over, and to make it seem like this guy's like he's some kind of stud. It ain't gonna change his image. Unfortunately, the people that he was involved in, them dying in the nursing homes, they're not coming back from the dead, unfortunately, and it's tragic. Tragic that these peoples have loss of family members because of this stuff, and people shouldn't die from COVID. Give me a break. I don't care how old they are. They shouldn't be left in a nursing home. And I even know other people that I've spoken to personally that cannot go visit their in-laws because of COVID. So these people feel like they're trapped. They haven't seen their in-laws in months because of COVID. And now I guarantee you, I don't know if you saw this, LA is having a second lockdown. They're stopping outdoor dining in LA this week. Okay. You're going to see a second lockdown in New York. Get ready, where you're going to have gyms closed again and restaurants closed. You wait and see. And he's going to get away with this. He's going to shut down churches and houses of worship.
Oh God.
It's all happening again, and he's going to get away with it. And this is the guy that we're looking up to. It's pathetic. And you have these great governors in New York. You had George Pataki. You had Nelson Rockefeller, Roosevelt. You had great governors of the history in New York, and you got this guy. What a joke.
Yeah, the small businesses in this country are going to have a long winter because even in places like Illinois, where they only allow outdoor dining, it's going to be like 30 degrees next month. I don't think too many people are going to be wanting to dine outside.
If you saw like the charts, someone sent me this, I couldn't believe it, of like Amazon and Walmart and Facebook and Twitter, how much money they made during the pandemic. Like a hockey stick, stock price, revenue way up. And then you look at these small businesses, they're literally going bankrupt because the loans that they got are done. I mean, they got those loans in the summer. The year's almost over. Where's the second round of funding for these guys? Yep. There was federal stimulus for unemployment. Where the hell is the next wave of that? If you work in a restaurant that the restaurant can't open, if you have a small business, you are screwed. You're going to be shut down for a year, maybe even longer. You're going to wait for the vaccine. Good luck. Good luck. I think this vaccine stuff is crazy too. If you look at how we dealt with polio and smallpox in the past, it took years, if not decades, to eradicate that. So everybody thinks, oh, we'll just give you guys the vaccine and we'll be fine. Yeah, okay, if that's the case, if that's what you're waiting for, that could take 5 years, 3 years, 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. Who knows? But it ain't going to take 6 months. That's crazy. If you're waiting for a vaccine, if any of these like experts like Fauci and stuff keep talking about a vaccine, that's years out. Meaning we're gonna be in this lockdown bullshit on and off for years.
Oh God. Well, a 15-year-old Hispanic kid is in custody after a mall shooting that injured 8. It was not a random act, but an altercation between groups. No info yet on if this kid was an illegal immigrant or not, but that's one of the reasons that President Trump wants the border wall. Is a lot of these Hispanics coming into the country get involved with gangs, like we know of MS-13. There's a lot of other ones as well. What did you guys make of this 15-year-old Hispanic boy shooting up the mall? Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I heard about it, and I shook my head and like, here we go again. You know, these people want to defund the police. They want to let everyone in, let our borders down. Here's the thing, plain and simple. We're not saying that immigrants can't come here, but we are saying that illegal aliens, we don't want them to come here. There is a process that you have to follow. And it doesn't make sense to allow people to come here illegally, and then they jump ahead of the people who are playing it by the book, who are doing everything that they should do. It's just not fair. I mean, it's like just common sense. Now, I know the Democrats want them in here because they're looking at it. If we get them in here, we can change the votes. It will be Democrats throughout eternity. But who would want that? You want things to change. But these people, they don't have the brain capacity, the intellectual ability to realize that, wait a minute, you know, this is our country that we're looking at trying to just turn over to any Dick, Tom, and Harry, Julio, and, you know, Mirna, to do whatever they want to do. At some point, we got to wake up and say, this is America. Well, yes, we want you here. We want you to come here the right way. And that is the only way. And when you come here, you have to obey our laws. And no, we're not going to start talking about defunding the police because it makes absolutely no sense. Yes, there are a few bad apples, but there are a few bad apples in the Democrat Party. We haven't kicked them out. So it's like common sense needs to dictate in a lot of these instances. And I hear that Joe Biden, he's going to create some program whereby he's going to buy all the guns back. I guess he's going to put, what's that guy's name, Beto O'Rourke, Robert Francis O'Rourke, in charge of that. This is going to be a very radical. So people soon.
Yeah, look, I think it's a problem, right? I think that we need to handle immigration and fix immigration problems. I mean, everybody came from somewhere. The point is that, you know, the presumption is that people came in legally, and you know, we have such difficult economic times right now that we're talking about, where you know, people who are here illegally are not participating by paying taxes. They're not filing income taxes. So I get into arguments, people all the time, like, oh, people pay taxes. Yeah, everybody pays sales tax, whatever. But I'm talking about, are they filing? Did they even have a social security number? Are they filing taxes with the IRS or paying income taxes? Yeah. No, but they're getting benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Food.
You're getting government benefits, and their kids go to school for free and everything. And when you live in the suburbs, you know, when you go to school and stuff, you know, kids go to school, it's from your property taxes. So these people are taking and not giving. And that's not a sustainable model when you have, you know, I don't know what that number is, 10, 12, 15 million people. I mean, I don't know why we can't get our arms wrapped around the correct number. And then to boot, we have to pay now for the Dreamers. In terms of, you know, DACA. I mean, like, are you kidding me? So you go to a country illegal and then we have to pay for their tuition? That's insane. Yep. If I go to Mexico illegally, they're gonna boot my ass out of the country. They're not gonna give me free tuition and say, hey, enjoy yourself, you know, have a bunch of kids here and hang out, and we'll protect you, and, you know, we'll pay for your college. I mean, it's insane. So we need to clean it up. And when people commit crimes, it's even worse. We have a big problem in New York City, actually in AOC's district, in Corona, Queens, with MS-13. The MS-13 is literally in gang warfare with the 18th Street gang, and they're shooting each other in open daylight, and they're illegal. And, you know, the mayor of New York is essentially interfering with communications when someone is arrested and they find out they're illegal. There's difficulty in terms of that information being communicated from the NYPD to the federal authorities like ICE, because the mayor has interfered with that process. and it's tragic. And these people are recidivists. They'll come back, and I'm not saying all people who are illegally commit crimes. I'm talking specifically about MS-13. That's what they do. They're a gang, and they commit illicit activity, and it's tragic. And we need to stop it. And unfortunately, we really haven't. And when we have kids who commit crimes and who have guns illegally, big problem. And if they're illegal, even more problematic. But notice during this whole pandemic and all the protests and everything, notice we haven't heard anything about the NRA, right? 4 people are shot in New York or whatever, 6 people over the weekend. There's so many people in Chicago every weekend that are shot, but it's all illegal guns, right? People, it's not illegal guns, so we can't pick on the NRA anymore. But how come nobody's so interested in obtaining the legal guns? You're going to buy a gun from a guy and give him $200 when that gun is protecting his drugs or protecting him on the street in terms of doing his business. You're going to give him $200. He's going to give up his gun. Get out of here. There's so many illegal guns that are being run, but we do nothing to stop it. And that's tragic, and that makes the whole world dangerous for all of us. And you could see over the summer how dramatic the gun violence has gotten in the United States and in our cities. It's the worst it's ever been.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. And you mentioned the NRA. I mean, it's unfortunate because I think that they've been tied up trying to defend themselves against the Letitia James, the Attorney General here in New York, because she's trying to shut them down. Because usually you would hear them front and center, in every election, but they've been silenced, which is something that the left, they're good at. I mean, plain and simple, the right has got to get tougher. We've got to start pushing back.
We got to use their tactics against them.
Yes, we are too soft. We're way too soft, and we don't stick together. I mean, you look at all these rhinos. I mean, here's the thing, and we started out talking about this, when we came on, and Manny was breaking down to us so eloquently this whole thing with Sidney Powell. Now, here's my. I know that I'm backtracking and bringing this back up, but I say this to make a point about this whole thing with Republicans, conservatives, just like being strong. Okay, let's say that you're one of the few out there that thinks that, what the president's doing is not going to mount to anything and eventually he's going to be president. Fine. You have a right to say, okay with that, okay? But what I don't are Republicans on the Hill adamant about it who attacks the president when they're talking about it. It's like, shut your potty hole up. Stay together and fight this thing through. That's what we've got the whole thing with, illegal aliens. You got some wandering off the field and, this. And, no, stay together. You don't have to get in front of a camera and start pontificating your little one-off view, because once you do it, the media is going to give you all this attention, and maybe that's what you want. But we have got to start being strong, staying together, and fighting the same way they do. And that is what I like about this president. He fights. So no matter what happens, he's a fighter. He will go down fighting. And that's what we have got to learn to do, because the Democrats do that and then some. And they fight dirty. If you're down on the ground, as Eric Holder said, he's going to kick you. He's going to kick you. He's going to throw dirt in your eye. He's going to do everything possible to keep you down. Now, I'm not saying we have to get to those tactics, but maybe we should consider it. Because I'm tired of us being defeated all the time for things that we should be winning. We should have had the wall. All the Republicans should have stood behind this president. Yes, we want the wall. We're going to push for this wall. As opposed to, well, I don't know. Well, stop it. Stand together. We're stronger with numbers.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It's spot on. I mean, I tweeted something the other day about Dominion. Like, who owns Dominion? Who's defending Dominion? What do these guys look like? And it was like crickets. Now think about the doxing these guys do about the lawyers I was mentioning that represented Trump or whatever, right? Just incredible doxing. But you got this company now, and I'm not saying I agree with doing the doxing, but hey, turnabout is fair play, right? I mean, if they got away with it, why are we not outing Dominion and who owns that place and confronting those guys and the lawyers who represent them. And we have no idea. It's utter silence. So it's a double standard. They get away with it, and we don't. And we don't fight the same game that they fight. I mean, look at all the stuff going on with this election right now. Let's twist it a bit. Let's say Trump was winning and Biden was doing this. What would be happening in the streets right now?
Yeah.
You know what will be happening in the streets. There will be massive civil unrest and protests. You know that.
Absolutely.
Right? And it would be in an effort to say, you better make Biden win or else we ain't going to stop doing this stuff.
Yeah, right? And that's what they were doing this summer.
That's what they did this summer, right? But it's a different situation now with us where we're letting this play out and people are kind of going about their business, right? It's going to be Thanksgiving on Thursday, whatever. And people are protesting, but there's no civil unrest. There's no looting. There's nothing. Yep. So, think about that. Think about the difference. Big difference.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to start doing what they do. Maybe we need to start doing what they do. Because it's effective. Let's be honest. I don't think it's right, but it's effective. It works.
Right. I strongly believe that during the before the election, they started bordering everything up. It was another psychological play that if our guy doesn't get it, we're going to burn this place down. And some of them even came out on TV and they alluded to it, throughout the entire summer, the spring and the summer with the rioting and the burn. When I think about it, I'm like, how in the heck did people see this and still voted for Joe Biden, who wasn't even out there? You're going to get this and then some. Look at the agenda that they're putting out there. And I wrote that down. I wanted to mention that. I mean, the agenda that they're saying, the things that they want to do, and Bernie Sanders, he's not giving up. And he's saying, we're going to push this. We're going to get this through. It's scary. And then you have the runoff in Georgia. And some people are saying Biden probably wants the Republicans to win so that he won't have to deal with the radicals in his party. Mm-hmm. But even if they do win, still you have radicals who are there. And how the heck did they get there and they remain? I'm like, who's asleep? And then for Republicans to sit there and support this, it's one thing to say, okay, Biden got it, we're going to congratulate him. I get it. But we're not there yet. Maybe you are, but we're not there yet. And to say 72 people that support this, what are you saying? I mean, and that's what I don't like. Like I said, even if you say, okay, he's going to win in the end, but what about the 72 million plus people that voted for Trump and they believe him and they see that, hey, this election was stolen from him? At least give them that respect. Give them the time to say, okay, we did everything we could. It's unfortunate. Now we got to move on. Then maybe it'll soften the blow and they'll say, okay, let's move forward and we'll do what we've got to do in 2024. I don't like it. Like I said, I keep going back to the whole Russia collusion. Completely different things. I get it. One is political, one is in the law. I get it. Okay. But it's as if though Republicans, they don't care. It's like they're so dismissive of people and their efforts and their beliefs. I mean, this man came in and he changed the party. Look at the new people that he brought in, and it's phenomenal. It's now the working class party, people who believe in him. And you want us to just forget about it and let all illegal aliens come in? And you can't call them illegal aliens. You have to call them undocumented workers. And if you say this wrong, you're gonna get doxxed, dude, if you don't do this. And you might not be able to. If we say that we support this president, there's a possibility we could lose our jobs, our livelihoods. And then on top of that, you better stay inside because if you don't, you're going to get a fine. What are you saying to those people? These are the same people that you're going to need to support you when you run again. And if you're not standing up for us now, why should we stand up for you then? I am a strong believer that Trump should take this party, rename it, rebrand it. He's already rebranded it, but say, hey, you don't do what we want, we're not going to support you. So Chris Christie, look out. Ben Sass, look out. Mitt Romney, look out. And all you other little rhinos that are out there thinking that you're hiding, we're on to you. And you will be rooted out.
Yeah, well said. I think we should have a third party, and we should have, we should put pressure, squeeze the Republican Party. We get another Tea Party going. I know you guys. You have a frequent guest who's one of the founders of the Tea Party, and Michael, right? Michael is
Michael
very
John.
Michael Johns. Yeah. No, so I think we're ripe for another Tea Party, and I got to tell you, no matter what happens with this election, I think we never stop fighting. We don't accept Biden as legitimate president. Trump was cheated out of this. We know. It's just if we can't prove our case, we can't prove our case. If the powers that be, prevent us from proving our case, that sucks. But we need to roll right into 2022 and take back the House. Okay, then we could put the pressure on Biden. We could potentially start impeachment hearings against Biden, and not to cause trouble and not to be disruptive, but to bring him and his family to justice. Okay, because there's no way that Biden and Harris didn't know about this stuff. I would move to impeach Biden and Harris, impeach a vice president as well if she's vice president, because they are complicit. Right. They have to be complicit in this election. There's no way they didn't know that he didn't campaign. How could the guy not campaign and get the more votes than Obama, the most votes in history? It makes no sense unless he knew that he was going to win no matter what, and the fix was in. So we need to keep the pressure going and literally roll this into 2022. Literally not stop the pressure and put the pressure on and totally just shut down Biden. Just shut him down, expose him for what he is, a fraud, and the fact that he's not going to be able to do the job, and we just roll him in 2022. We'll keep the Senate, get the House, and there, then we'll get the presidency back in 2024 if we ultimately lose it now. But we got to secure Georgia. We got to keep the efforts going right now with the presidency 100%, and get behind Trump and continue to support Trump and let it play out however it plays out. And then I think we need to, make sure we hold the Senate with Georgia, and then roll right into 2022. Don't stop. Literally start campaigning day after the special elections in Georgia are over.
I think every Trump supporter would agree that President Trump won this election in a landslide if it was a fair election. Over 73 million votes, just incredible. I think over 10 million more votes than he had the first time, which is amazing because Barack Obama lost about 8 million votes from the first time to the second time he ran. Just to get just about everywhere on this show, a little off topic, but I saw the WWE tonight was celebrating 30 years of The Undertaker. Apparently, it's been 30 years since the debut of the Undertaker character.
Yes.
I would say probably one of the most famous characters in WWE history. Obviously not as famous as a guy as like The Rock or Hulk Hogan or something like that. But I think anyone who grew up in the 90s or whatever has heard of The Undertaker. Manny, New York is the WWE's top market. You have any Undertaker stories?
Yeah, no, I didn't realize it was 30 years. That's pretty amazing. I mean, I remember I used to watch was a big wrestling fan for many years with the old, WWF before the WWE, and then with the WCW. I used to actually like the WCW, and I think the Undertaker was like Mean Mark or something. I don't know who his character was in the other division, and I thought it was great. When he came to the WWE, and it's just tremendous. I mean, I like, the all-time favorites of like the Ultimate Warrior and clearly like Hulk Hogan. But yeah, I mean, it's just tremendous. It's just tremendous stuff. I mean, Vince McMahon. I mean, Linda McMahon ran the Small Business Association for Trump in the Trump administration. So they're big. They know Trump for many years. Vince and Linda are supportive of Trump. I actually saw. I do some of these podcasts that Gary Vaynerchuk does, Gary V, and he had Stephanie McMahon on, who she's a head of marketing, believe it or not, for the WWE, which is awesome. It's Vince McMahon's daughter. But so I love the WWE. I think it's great. I think the Undertaker's awesome. I guess I'm kind of dating myself with some of the matches, but I used to like some of the matches with with like Ultimate Warrior and who else? Stone Cold and got guys like that. I'm not into as much of the and The Rock, of course, but I'm not into like the younger.
Remember Demolition with the face paint and the Legion of Doom,
the Legion of Doom. Actually, Yeah, the Legion of
Ric
Doom,
Flair.
Animal and Hawk. I actually went to a bar when I lived in Brooklyn one night, and they had like a wrestling event in like some high school. And I go to a bar to order drinks, and I look, and it was like it was Animal from Animal and Hawk from the Legion of Doom. And it was this dude. He was just jacked, and he had like the mohawk, obviously no makeup, whatever. So he was awesome, and I was like talking about all these stories, and what's so weird about the whole thing is like I think he was married to like someone's sister. Like it's so incestuous, the relationships. They're all friends, they're all family.
Yep.
Because back in the day before they made all this money, they all like traveled together and drove on buses or whatever. It's so awesome. But I think it's great. I think the Undertaker's got to be like in his 60s. So I think it's awesome that is he retiring now officially, or he's going to keep wrestling?
Apparently he retired earlier this year, so they're doing like tonight marked the 30th anniversary, and they had their pay-per-view, so they did like a big tribute show to him or something like that. And
I love that guy Paul Bearer, who was like his guy. Like I love that stuff. I mean, I used to watch all the way back to like Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I used to watch all the AWA. I was addicted to wrestling when I was a kid, and it was hard to watch it. So some of it we used to have to watch like on a UHF. Now I'm really dating myself. You know, we'd get wrestling from Florida with like all the different wrestling in Florida. This guy Kevin Sullivan, he used to play like this demonic character, like he was possessed. And Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, right? Dusty Rhodes. And what was cool about that wrestling was I used to like the wrestling in the different divisions because I thought it was better theater, but it was much more violent. You would see guys get like bottles smashed in their head and chairs smashed over the head. Where WWF was kind of different. And then Vince McMahon would experiment. You know, some matches were rougher based upon the wrestlers, but it's great stuff. I mean, I think it's awesome for American culture. I mean, I think people love the WWE, and you look at a guy like John Cena, and clearly Hulk Hogan is an American hero, and I'm not happy with The Rock because of him endorsing Biden, but it's pretty amazing how successful these guys have gotten. I mean, The Rock is one of the richest stars in the world. I can't say I've seen a movie that he's been in, and he deserves to make 60 million a movie or whatever. But it's pretty amazing that it's gotten that big, and that's awesome. Undertaker's awesome.
Well, you got to remember that at one point, Trump and Vince McMahon had a couple of rounds together.
I've seen that. There's like a meme of like Trump like clotheslining someone, right? Yeah. And then they'll put like someone's head on it, like Mitt Romney or something. He like takes them down, and yeah. Actually, yeah, I mean, I love it so much. You know, I used to know all the moves. When I was younger, and fortunately we didn't get hurt. Trying to do like pile drivers on each other and like smashing each other over the head with stuff. But it's great. It's great stuff for America. I mean, wrestling is American, and we have great like Mexican wrestlers too, but I mean we perfected it. It's a worldwide thing. I worked with a guy years ago from England, and he was a huge WWE fan. And whenever he saw it like in London at Wembley Stadium or something, like 100,000 people, and then whenever he would come to America, he'd come to New York, he would go to see he'd get tickets to where they would film the WWE for that week. At the studio, like Raw, whatever show was on Monday night, he would get tickets. He was that obsessed with it. And, and he wanted to see it, and they had wrestling in England, but it was nothing like the WWE.
Yeah. Just a side note too. The Undertaker is a huge Trump supporter. I actually did an article one time. These liberals tried doxing the Undertaker because they found his campaign finance donation history, and he has just spent thousands and thousands of dollars donating to President Trump.
Really? Is it Kane?
Ted Cruz. Yeah, Ted Cruz is the mayor in Tennessee.
Kane. Yeah, Kane is a mayor, and he's a Republican.
Yeah, I think it's like Knoxville, Tennessee, or something.
Yeah, he was like a big competitor, but they were like supposedly brothers in that whole thing, right? He was related to Undertaker, or something, but he's the mayor. I mean, and you look at wrestling and politics. I mean, Jesse Ventura. I think he was on the ballot for the presidential election, if I'm not mistaken. Someone told me Jesse was running for president as a third party. I don't know, independent or whatever he was.
I think back in the day he was. I know that he was a governor of Minnesota. Yeah.
But I think this year, he was on some ballots. Yeah,
wow.
He was like independent or green or something, but he's still out there, and I'm like, oh my god! But he was he would come into the ring with the boa. I mean, it's politics and wrestling are very close right now. It's all theater, right? It's when Trump would tweet, get all that attention. When Trump there was press conferences. I mean, some of that was like the WWE, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Well said, guys. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving week here. I hope everyone in the chat room has a nice Thanksgiving. Are you guys going to spend any time with your family this week?
Oh gosh, no! Because the neighbors are watching. The neighbors are watching because they want to tell Cuomo or De Blasio that he left his apartment. We've got to snitch on him.
You have to make sure I don't encounter 10 people or whatever. I mean, we're all going to automatically get COVID at going from 10 to 11. Guilty. COVID. You have COVID. Like again,
Right.
the numbers in terms of this stuff it's so fake. We're laughing right now. In a couple of years, we will all laugh at how preposterous this is.
But wait, yeah. I've got to share this. To me, I think the funniest thing is that 5 years from now, people will go back at this time and they'll look at the pictures that they took when they were traveling, the little people who were traveling, and they'll see themselves smiling behind mask. I walk around the city and I see so many people like, will you take my picture? I'm like, sure. I'm like, are you ready? And I look up, I'm like, do you want to put your mask down? Why even take the picture if you're going to have a mask on? It's like, what the heck is this? But all around, you'll see people taking pictures with their mask on. I'm like, are they smiling behind the mask? Or like, what's going on here? It's the weirdest thing. It's like,
I got to tell you, if masks truly prevented people from getting COVID or giving COVID, I would be supportive of wearing masks. And again, you see these doctors come out of like an emergency room where the people are intubated. They have multiple masks. They have like a visor. They have layers of protective equipment. Okay. And they're around people who have COVID. Okay. They don't just wear like a mask that's 38 cents. I mean, do we really think that I'm gonna not even a mask at 38 cents? I have like a face covering, like a bandana I buy like in Dollar Tree for 87 cents. That's really gonna protect you or me. And if I don't wear that, you're gonna fine me like $50. How insane is that?
yeah,
If
it's crazy.
give me something that maybe works, right? And then make us all wear that and like literally hand it out. You could have filters to change it or wash it or something. I get that. But to leave it upon someone's own person, somebody might get an N95 mask that's 38 cents. Somebody might get a bandana. Some people I see, they do this move. Oh, I forgot my mask. Sorry. Oh, I can't walk into the place today. Stick them up. It's like, this is protecting you and me from getting COVID. I'm like spitting on it, and I'm like really? That's what it takes. That's the whole craziness for this whole thing, and that's why nobody respects Pritzker, nobody respects Cuomo, nobody respects Newsom. When you see Newsom went to have dinner with some group, I just saw a tweet that somebody confronted Phil Murphy in New Jersey. Jersey's having a second wave of lockdown too. He was at dinner with his family, and he wasn't wearing a mask. You know why? Because he was eating. You can't wear a mask when you're eating, right? Isn't that funny? You go in a restaurant, you have your mask on, you sit down, you eat, you spit, you're doing whatever, and then you're communicating with people. Everybody may be socially distant, but if you're spitting or you're coughing, whatever, it's all good. Then you have to get up and go to the restroom. You put your mask on again.
Right.
But while you're eating and talking, there's nothing that's coming out of your mouth that's infecting the rest of the room,
Right.
or they're not infecting you. Why, when you get up and go to the bathroom, you put your mask? It's the dumbest thing in the world. The mask thing to me and the social distancing, like 6 feet is enough. Maybe it's like 6 foot, and so like after 6 feet, COVID dies. COVID knows it says, okay, oh, I'm at 6 feet. Here we go. Oh, okay, now I'm not contagious. I mean, it's that we're gonna laugh at this stuff for the rest of our lives. But unfortunately, it's killing businesses because the way we're laughing at it, we don't have to comply with it the way these businesses do, and they have to set up these tables and have these air ducts and stuff. It's really sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said, Manny. And thank you so much to everyone who joined us. We hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Rob and I will probably be back on Tuesday. We'll probably take Thanksgiving night off on Thursday, but we'll see, I guess. Hope everyone has a blessed week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much to our guest, Manny Alicandro. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Manny_Alicandro, Alicandro. Follow Rob at RobJH1. Follow me at Smalltown Andrew, and go to the website magamedia.org. Also, if you'd like to watch a replay of the broadcast, you can go check it out on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and type in MAGA Media, and our page should be the first thing that comes up. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.